Hey everybody, Josh Mall here with Swimming Pool Science, and today we're going to talk about proper testing techniques and balancing water chemistry. Now, getting your water chemistry balance isn't too tricky of a deal once you master it and figure it out, but it takes a little time. So we're going to get through the steps right now by talking about proper testing procedures. So here we go, everybody. Come with me. Now, don't worry, guys. If you're panicking about water chemistry, it's something we here at Swimming Pool Science that just comes to us naturally. It's not that hard. It's pretty simple stuff. And once you get it figured out, you'll know exactly what you're going to do. So, all right, guys. Now that I've got a fresh set of dry clothes, let's try this again. We're going to take you through the steps of water chemistry. First thing we're going to do in this video is take you through the steps on how to test properly. A lot of you guys like to take a water sample into the pool store. That's all fine and dandy. Those guys at the pool store, a lot of them know what they're doing, but they're counting on you to take a proper test sample. So we're going to take you through those steps. We'll take you through test strips. We'll take you through a reagent color test block. Those are the three major tests that you'll normally do. So we're going to take you through that right now. Now we're ready to test. A couple basics, a couple important things. We want to make sure that our pool's been running. We want that pump running, that water circulating for a good, at the very least, 10-15 minutes before we even begin to take a test. As the pool sits off all day or however long it's off, water chemistry changes at different levels in the pool. It's not the same. We want that water mix. We want it consistent so that we get an accurate reading. That's really important, especially if we're going to take a water sample into the pool store. Those guys know their stuff, but they're counting on you to take a proper water sample. So it's very important to A, make sure that pool's running. B, make sure that you're away from your chlorine source. Don't take a water sample near your chlorine floater. Don't take it near the in-deck chlorinator. It's best if you can not too close to a return if you have a salt system or an inline chlorine tower. The other thing I'm going to do, whether I'm using my sample to take into the pool store or I'm using my color testing block, when I take that sample, first I want to rinse my vessel out. I don't care if it's fresh out of the dishwasher or what, but we want to make sure that that's rinsed out and clean. It's going to help us get an accurate sample. Next thing I'm going to do, I turn this thing upside down because I want to trap air in it and take a sample from elbow deep. So when I go down, I've got that sample, and that's going to give me an accurate, better sample, a better picture of what's happening in the water after it's been circulating. Same goes for this guy right here. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you get this into the store quickly. Head straight down there and get it done. Don't go run 5-6 errands and leave this thing sitting hot in the car, because that water will not then be the same as what's in your pool. So you want to run that down as quickly as possible. Another thing I like to do, and a lot of pool stores are guilty of this, they'll test your water, they'll give it back and say you need this, that, and the other thing. No way. You want numbers. You want numbers of all the results of the tests they do, from phosphates to cyanuric acid. If they're testing for metals, you want those numbers, you want them written down. That way you have those numbers, you can go do your own research and decide what your pool really needs. So that takes you through testing basics.
Now when it comes to test strips, I'm going to let my 4-year-old son Miles demonstrate some of the do's and don'ts. When you open up the bottle, very carefully shake them out. Do not dump them all over the deck in the pool like Miles did here. You want to just give them a little bit of a jiggle, and that'll work a couple out. You can carefully grab the single one you're going to use, and you want to do that because it's very important not to contaminate the entire bottle with any kind of debris or dirt or even moisture. So make sure you're using dry hands to do that. It's also important when you are ready to test that you follow the directions on the bottle. Most bottles or test forms call for you to dip, of course, elbow deep, unlike Miles is doing. He's going too shallow. But once you dip it down, to hold it level for a few seconds. And in this case, with this specific test, it calls for about 15 seconds, at which point then you can compare the test strip to the chart on the bottle. Now you have to be careful, because if you have too much chlorine in the water, and this goes for just about every test, even on the Taylor test kit that I like to use, it'll actually bleach out the test and it'll look like there's no chlorine in the water, and you may not realize it until you go to do a pH or an alkalinity test and the colors come out funny. Then you need to go back and retest for chlorine and dilute the water down with some fresh water to get a correct reading on that. And one more thing. As far as storing your test kits, whether it's test strips or a color reagent setup like we have with the Taylor, you want to keep that in a cool, dry place.
Now for us here at Swimming Pool Science, the Taylor K2005 is the standard for us. It allows us to do everything from chlorine demand, acid demand, cyanuric acid tests, alkalinity, as well as calcium hardness. So for us on the fly, it allows us to do a lot of things, check a lot of stuff, get way ahead of the game when we're out in the field. So this is what I like to have. They have smaller versions of this, or you can get one of these for yourself. Make sure when you're storing this, you're storing it in a cool, dry place. These reagents need to be replaced at least once a year. We typically go through them. I burn through over $100 in reagents a month, so it's not something I have to worry about. This right here, for me, is the Bible. This is everything you could ever want to know about water chemistry in detail. It's got this great Dick Tracy saturation index wheel, so you can make sure that your water is in balance. So it's a great kit, but like I said, this is the standard of what we use here at Swimming Pool Science. So let's just take you through a quick test on the chlorine. And when I'm using this, you've got your lines right here. You'll see those lines if you look up close. And what you want to do is you want the bottom of the meniscus. That's where the water sits lowest inside the vessel. That's where you want that line. You're going to be checking that at eye level. So I like to tap it out. Get it right there. Check it at eye level. Because our sample size is so small, any little thing can affect this. So one of the big things people do is they'll instead of putting the cap on, they'll just put their fingers over, the hand over. The acids on your hands can affect the pH readings on these things. So like I'm saying, it's important you don't want to touch. If you knock too much water out, what I like to do is I'll use the little cover. Use it like a ladle. Get it wet, add a little extra drips of water until you get it right where you want to be. But like I said, it's important to hold that at eye level to make sure that that's correct. Excuse me, sir. You just sit right here, buddy, and look pretty. Now, when you're doing these drops, another thing that's very important, a lot of people don't do, they get careless. They'll squeeze those drops out too fast. What you want to do, you want to count them out. 5 drops in this case. And you notice I'm holding my bottle straight up and down, because if I hold it at an angle, that affects the drop size. And like I said, this is such a small sample of water. Any little thing like that is going to affect it. Five drops of this.
This is pink. Hey, Dad, why does it turn into pink?
That's the color. That means there's a lot of chlorine. That's
Hey,
the way
Dad,
the
can
reagents
I
work.
shake it up?
You don't shake it. Remember, Miles? What do? What do? We don't shake it, right? What do? Show everybody what we do. Everybody how we do it. That's right. So I don't know if you could quite see that in the video, but Miles didn't shake it. He turned it upside down and right side back, okay? Because air bubbles that might build up in there from a big vigorous shake can affect what you're seeing on the color meter. We're going to hold this to the northern sky, hold it up to blue sky, and get it at eye level to get an accurate reading. Right now where I'm at, I've got a lot of trees in the way, a lot of different things. So I'm going to generally hold it to the north, but I might look at it from a couple different angles to get a solid idea.
Daddy, what is this?
And I'll be honest with you, this pool water is an absolute mess. So we've got a lot of work to do on it. But we're going to continue that in our next video. So stay tuned, get your test kits ready and dialed in, and we'll go over pH and how it affects the chlorine and the water balance on our next video. Thanks, guys.